There's a force in this world that seeks to pull us away from our highest potential. You might call it fear, doubt, negativity, or even the devil, but it manifests in those moments when you feel small, powerless, or incapable. It whispers to you that you're not enough, that your dreams are too big, that you've made too many mistakes to ever walk in alignment with the light of your purpose. But that force only has the power you give it. That's the key. You have the choice. You can choose to let that voice control your life, or you can turn towards something infinitely greater. You can allow yourself to be guided by God, the divine intelligence that's always present, always loving, and always inviting you to step into your true self. This isn't about a specific religion or a set of rituals. This is about a universal truth that transcends boundaries. You are not here by accident. Your existence is not random. Just as every star in the sky has its place, so do you. The same power that created the mountains, the oceans, and the vast expanse of the universe also resides within you. It's the voice of love, of wisdom, of grace. And that voice is always speaking to you, even when you feel most lost. The question is, are you listening? Or are you allowing the noise of doubt to drown it out? There's a fundamental choice we face every day. Will we allow fear to guide us, or will we surrender to God's guidance? Fear is clever. It disguises itself as practicality, as logic, as self-preservation. It tells you to stay in your comfort zone, to play it safe, to avoid risk. But God's voice, oh, it's a gentle yet persistent call. It asks you to trust, to step forward even when you don't see the full path, to believe in possibilities that seem impossible from your current vantage point. It's not always easy, but the rewards are beyond anything you can imagine. Think about the times in your life when you felt truly aligned, when things seemed to flow effortlessly, and you experienced a deep sense of peace. Those moments didn't come from following the whispers of fear. They came when you trusted in something greater, when you let go of the need to control every outcome and allowed yourself to be guided by faith. That's the essence of letting God lead. It's about surrendering the ego's grip and stepping into a partnership with the divine. Now let's address the idea of the devil, not as a horned figure in folklore, but as a representation of the forces that pull you away from your higher self. It's the critic in your mind, the one that keeps you replaying your failures, questioning your worth, and doubting your potential. That voice thrives on separation from love, from hope, and from God. But here's the beautiful truth. No matter how far you think you've strayed, no matter how deep the shadows feel, the light is always available. It's not about fighting the darkness. It's about turning on the light. The act of allowing God to guide you is an act of humility. It's saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that the answers exist. I don't know the way, but I trust that the way will be shown to me. It's about releasing the need to control and instead aligning yourself with the flow of life. This isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to admit that you can't do it all on your own. It takes courage to step into the unknown and trust in a power greater than yourself. Life is not meant to be a constant struggle. Yes, challenges will arise, but they are not punishments. They are opportunities for growth, for learning, for refining your spirit. When you see them through the lens of divine guidance, you begin to understand that every obstacle has a purpose. It's not here to defeat you, but to shape you into the person you're meant to become. The devil wants you to see challenges as proof that you're unworthy, but God wants you to see them as stepping stones on your journey. The key to overcoming the pull of negativity is awareness. You must become aware of the thoughts you're entertaining. Are they thoughts of lack or abundance? Fear or love? Doubt or trust? The thoughts you dwell on shape your reality. If you allow fear-based thoughts to dominate, you'll find yourself trapped in a cycle of limitation. But when you consciously choose thoughts aligned with love and faith, you open the door to limitless possibilities. You don't need to have it all figured out right now. You don't need to know every step of the journey. All you need is the willingness to take the next step. That's what it means to let God guide you. It's not about knowing the entire plan, it's about trusting the process. When you do this, you'll find the doors open where you once saw walls, that opportunities arise where you once saw dead ends. This is not coincidence. This is the power of alignment. Letting God guide you also means being open to receiving. Sometimes the answers and opportunities come in ways you didn't expect. You might be praying for one thing, but God has something even greater in store for you. Don't limit yourself by clinging to a specific outcome. Be willing to let go of your preconceived notions and trust that what's coming is for your highest good. The universe has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. We often underestimate the power of small, consistent acts of faith. People think surrendering to God's guidance means making grand gestures or radically changing their lives overnight. But that's not how it works. It's in the little things, choosing kindness when it's easier to be harsh, finding gratitude in a moment of frustration, or simply pausing to breathe and reconnect with the present moment. Each time you make a choice aligned with love, you silence the whispers of doubt and amplify the voice of God within you. It's a practice, and like any practice, it gets stronger with time. Think about a time in your life when things felt chaotic and you couldn't see a way forward. Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, or a dream that seemed to slip away. In those moments, it's tempting to let despair take over. That's the voice of the devil feeding on your pain, convincing you that you're alone and powerless. But even in the darkest night, there's a flicker of light. It might be small, a kind word from a stranger, a sudden sense of peace, or an unexpected opportunity, but it's there. And that light is your reminder that God hasn't left you. He's guiding you, even when you can't see the path. Your job is to trust that light, to follow it, no matter how dim it seems. The devil wants you to believe that your past defines you. It wants to trap you in guilt, shame, and regret, replaying old mistakes until you lose sight of who you really are. God's guidance is not about the past. It's about the present. It's about reminding you that you are not your failures. You are not your pain. You are a divine creation, infinitely loved and capable of transformation. When you let go of the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what you're worth, you create space for a new story to unfold, one written in partnership with God. There's a freedom that comes from letting go. It's not about giving up. It's about releasing the weight of trying to control everything. When you let God lead, you discover that you don't have to force your way through life. You don't have to struggle to make things happen. The right opportunities, the right people, the right answers, they come to you naturally when you're aligned with the divine. It's not magic, it's the natural flow of life. When you stop resisting and start trusting, you'll find yourself in a rhythm that feels effortless, even in the face of challenges. One of the greatest obstacles to letting God guide you is the need for certainty. As humans, we crave control. We want to know how things will turn out, to have a guarantee before we take the leap. But faith doesn't work that way. Faith is stepping into the unknown with the belief that you will be supported. It's trusting that even if the path isn't clear, the next step will reveal itself. The more you practice this, the stronger your faith becomes. And as your faith grows, so does your ability to hear and follow God's guidance. Pay attention to the nudges, the whispers, the moments of inspiration. They often come when you least expect them, during a quiet walk, a conversation with a friend, or even in the stillness of your own heart. These are not coincidences. They are God's way of guiding you. The more you tune into them, the more you'll recognize them. And the more you act on them, the more your life will begin to align with your highest purpose. Forgiveness is another powerful way to let God lead. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or grudges, you're tethering yourself to the past. You're giving the devil a foothold in your heart. Forgiveness is not about condoning what was done to you. It's about releasing yourself from the chains of bitterness. It's about saying, I choose peace over pain. I choose love over anger. When you forgive, you're not just freeing the other person, you're freeing yourself. And in that freedom, you create space for God's love to flow through you. There's also a misconception that surrendering to God means passivity, that it's about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. But that's not true surrender. True surrender is an active process. It's showing up each day with a willingness to listen, to trust, and to take inspired action. It's partnering with God, not as a passive observer, but as a co-creator of your life. This partnership is powerful because it allows you to tap into a wisdom far greater than your own. It's not about doing less, it's about doing what truly matters. As you move through life, you'll encounter moments of doubt. That's normal. Faith doesn't mean the absence of doubt. It means choosing to move forward despite it. It means saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that the answers will come. In those moments, remind yourself of the times when God's guidance was unmistakable. Maybe it was a prayer answered in an unexpected way, or a situation that resolved itself when you least expected it. Those experiences are your reminders that you're never alone. When you let God guide you, you begin to see life differently. You start to notice the beauty in the ordinary, the miracles in the mundane. You realize that every moment, every experience is an opportunity to connect with the divine. Even the challenges take on a new meaning. They're no longer obstacles, but stepping stones, each one bringing you closer to the person you're meant to be. This perspective doesn't just change how you see the world, it changes how you show up in it. Every day is a new chance to align with God's guidance. It doesn't matter where you've been or what you've done, what matters is where you're going. And where you're going is always toward the light, even if the path is winding. So don't allow the devil to pull you into fear, doubt, or despair. Choose love. Choose trust. Choose to let God guide you. And watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. There's a beauty in knowing that no matter how far you've drifted from the truth of who you are, you can always return. You can always step back into alignment with the divine. It's never too late. Some people think they've gone too far, that they've made too many mistakes, that they've burned bridges that can never be rebuilt. But here's the truth. God's grace is infinite. There's no point of no return. The moment you decide to turn your focus back to love, to trust, to faith, the universe begins to conspire in your favor. What holds most people back is not the circumstances of their lives, but the beliefs they hold about those circumstances. It's easy to believe that you're a victim of your past, that you're stuck because of something someone did or something you didn't do. But those beliefs are not the truth. They're stories you've been telling yourself for so long that they feel real. When you let God guide you, those stories begin to unravel. You start to see that you're not a victim. You're a creator. You're not stuck. You're evolving. And with every step forward, you're writing a new story, one that's rooted in possibility and promise. To let God guide you, you have to be willing to release control. That's one of the hardest lessons for many people. We've been taught to plan, to strategize, to manipulate circumstances to get what we want. But true power comes from letting go of the need to control and instead focusing on alignment. When you're aligned with God, you don't have to force outcomes. You don't have to push or struggle. You simply follow the guidance you're given, trusting that each step is leading you closer to your highest good. But how do you hear that guidance? It starts with stillness. The world is noisy and the mind is even noisier. There's always something vying for your attention, your to-do list, your worries, your fears. If you don't create space for stillness, you'll miss the whispers of the divine. Take time each day to quiet your mind, to sit in silence, to listen. You don't need elaborate rituals or complex techniques. Just be still and open your heart. In that stillness, you'll begin to hear the guidance that's always been there, waiting for you to tune in. There's another aspect of letting God guide you that's often overlooked: surrendering your expectations. We all have ideas about how our lives should look, about what success means, about what will make us happy. But those ideas are often limited by our own perspectives. God's vision for your life is so much greater than anything you could imagine. When you cling to your expectations, you limit yourself. But when you release them, you open the door to possibilities that are far beyond what you thought was possible. It's not about settling. It's about trusting that God knows what's best for you, even when you don't. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the gift of presence. When you're fully present, you're in alignment with God. You're not worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. You're here in this moment, open to the guidance that's available to you right now. Presence allows you to see the beauty in the ordinary, to find joy in the small things, to experience the peace that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be. It's important to remember that God's guidance doesn't always come in the form of big dramatic signs. Sometimes it's as simple as a feeling, a nudge, a sense of knowing. It might be a random thought that pops into your mind or a conversation that sparks a new idea. Pay attention to these moments. They're not random, they're intentional. They're God's way of leading you, step by step, toward your highest good. And while it's crucial to listen, it's equally important to act. Guidance is meaningless if you don't act on it. Too often, people wait for perfect conditions, for all the pieces to fall into place before they move forward. But God's guidance doesn't always come with a full map. It often comes as a single step, a direction to take without knowing where it will lead. Trust that when you take that step, the next one will reveal itself. Faith is not about seeing the entire path. It's about trusting that the path is there. There's a misconception that letting God guide you means you won't face challenges or difficulties. But the truth is, challenges are often part of the process. They're not roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Each challenge you face is an opportunity to grow, to strengthen your faith, to deepen your connection with the divine. It's in those moments of difficulty that you're being refined, prepared for what's to come. Don't resist the challenges, embrace them. Trust that they're part of the journey and that they're serving a purpose even if you can't see it yet. Gratitude is a powerful tool for aligning with God's guidance. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you shift your energy. You move from a state of lack to a state of abundance. You open yourself to receiving more of the good that's already present in your life. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It's about feeling it, embodying it. It's about recognizing the blessings in your life, no matter how small, and trusting that more are on the way. As you continue to let God guide you, you'll notice a shift in how you approach life. You'll find yourself less reactive and more responsive. You'll stop fighting against the current and start flowing with it. You'll see challenges as opportunities, not obstacles. And you'll begin to experience a sense of peace that's not dependent on external circumstances. This peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of trust. It's knowing that no matter what happens, you are supported, loved, and guided. When you align yourself with God's guidance, you'll also notice a shift in your relationships. People who once drained your energy may naturally fall away, and those who uplift and inspire you will come into your life. This is not a coincidence. It's the result of your energetic alignment. When you're in tune with the divine, you attract people and situations that are in harmony with that energy. Don't cling to relationships that no longer serve your growth out of fear or obligation. Trust that letting go creates space for something better to come into your life. Another key to letting God guide you is cultivating patience. In a world that glorifies instant gratification, it can be challenging to trust the timing of your life. But divine timing is not the same as human timing. Sometimes the things you're praying for don't come when you want them because you're not ready to receive them. Or perhaps there's something even better on its way. Patience is not passive, it's active trust. It's saying, I may not see it yet, but I believe it's coming. And in that belief, you find peace. It's also important to remember that God's guidance is not always comfortable. Sometimes it asks you to step out of your comfort zone, to face your fears, to let go of what's familiar. But it's in those moments of discomfort that you grow the most. Growth requires stretching, and stretching can be uncomfortable. But when you trust in God's plan, you realize that the discomfort is temporary and the growth is permanent. Each time you step into the unknown, you expand your capacity for faith, courage, and love. Letting God guide you also means embracing the unknown. The human mind craves certainty, but certainty is an illusion. Life is inherently unpredictable. But when you surrender to the divine, you find a sense of stability that doesn't depend on external circumstances. It's a stability rooted in trust, in knowing that no matter what happens, you are held, supported, and loved. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you'll face them with a sense of peace and confidence, knowing that you're not walking the path alone. There will be moments when the pull of fear feels overwhelming, when the whispers of doubt seem louder than the voice of God. In those moments, return to the basics. Breathe, pray, meditate. Remind yourself of the truth. You are not alone. You are always supported, always guided. And even when you can't see the way forward, trust that the path is there. It's okay to feel afraid. It's okay to have doubts. But don't let those feelings dictate your actions. Choose faith, even in the face of fear. The journey of letting God guide you is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Each day, you have the choice to align with love or fear, to trust or to doubt, to surrender or to resist. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep showing up, keep choosing love, keep trusting in the process. Over time, those small daily choices add up to a life that's guided by grace, a life that's filled with purpose, peace, and joy. As you continue on this journey, you'll notice that your perception of success begins to shift. Success is no longer about achieving specific outcomes or meeting external expectations. It becomes about alignment, about living in harmony with your values and your purpose. It becomes about how you feel, about the energy you bring to each moment. When you let God guide you, success is not something you chase, it's something you attract. It's a natural byproduct of living in alignment with your true self. Let this be your reminder, no matter where you are on your journey, you are exactly where you're meant to be. Every experience, every challenge, every moment of joy or sorrow has brought you to this point. And from this point, you can choose to let God guide you. You can choose to step into the flow of life, to trust in the divine, and to embrace the infinite possibilities that are waiting for you. The journey is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up, trusting the process, and allowing yourself to be led by love. When you allow yourself to be guided by God, a shift happens not just in your external circumstances, but deep within your heart. You begin to see life through a different lens, one that highlights possibility instead of limitation, hope instead of despair. This shift doesn't come from a single revelation, but from a series of gentle awakenings. Each moment you choose faith over fear, trust over doubt, and love over judgment, you strengthen your connection to the divine. It's a journey of remembering who you truly are, beyond the labels, roles, and stories you've carried. You may notice that as you deepen this connection, the things that once mattered so much to you start to lose their grip. The chase for material success, validation, or approval begins to feel hollow. This isn't because those things are inherently bad, but because your sense of fulfillment starts to come from a higher place. When God guides you, your priorities shift. You start to value peace over perfection, presence over productivity, and connection over competition. And in that shift, you find a freedom you never knew was possible. One of the most beautiful aspects of letting God guide you is the way it transforms your relationship with time. When you're disconnected from the divine, time often feels like an enemy, a resource you're constantly running out of. But when you align with God, time becomes your ally. You realize that there's no rush, no race to the finish line. Life unfolds in perfect timing, and your only job is to stay present and receptive. This doesn't mean you stop setting goals or taking action. It means you do so from a place of trust, knowing that everything is happening exactly as it should. Another remarkable change you'll notice is how you respond to challenges. When life throws you a curveball, your first instinct might be to resist, to fight against what's happening. But resistance only creates more suffering. When you let God guide you, you learn to approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear. You start to ask, what is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? This shift in perspective doesn't make the challenges disappear, but it changes how you experience them. Instead of feeling like a victim of your circumstances, you become a student of life, open to the lessons that each moment brings. It's also worth noting that letting God guide you doesn't mean abandoning your dreams or desires. On the contrary, it means aligning your dreams with a higher purpose. Sometimes this requires letting go of what you think you want to make space for what you truly need. It's not always an easy process. Surrender rarely is. But when you trust in God's plan, you'll find that what unfolds is far greater than anything you could have orchestrated on your own. Your desires become not just about what you can get, but about how you can give, how you can serve, how you can contribute to the greater good. One of the biggest barriers to letting God guide you is the fear of making mistakes. People often worry that if they take the wrong step, they'll derail their entire journey. But here's the truth. There are no wrong steps when you're aligned with the divine. Every decision, every experience, every detour serves a purpose. Even when things don't go as planned, they're still moving you closer to where you're meant to be. Trust that God can take even your missteps and use them for your highest good. Your job is not to be perfect. It's to be willing to show up and to trust the process. Forgiveness is another cornerstone of this journey. Without forgiveness, you carry the weight of the past into the present. You can't fully align with God's guidance if you're holding on to resentment, anger, or guilt. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means choosing to release the hold it has on you. It's an act of liberation, a way of saying, I will not let this define me or dictate my future. When you forgive, you free yourself to move forward with an open heart, ready to receive the blessings that are waiting for you. As you let God guide you, you'll also notice an increased sense of clarity. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become easier because you're no longer relying solely on your intellect or logic. You're tuning into a deeper wisdom, a knowing that transcends the mind. This doesn't mean you abandon reason. It means you balance it with intuition. You listen not just to what makes sense, but to what feels right, to what resonates with your soul. And in doing so, you align your actions with your highest purpose. Another profound change that occurs when you let God guide you is the way you handle uncertainty. Life is full of unknowns, and that can be terrifying when you're trying to navigate it alone. But when you trust in God's guidance, uncertainty becomes less of a burden and more of an adventure. You start to see it as a space of possibility, a blank canvas on which anything can be created. You realize that you don't need to have all the answers because you're not walking this path alone. God is with you, lighting the way, one step at a time. And let's not forget the importance of gratitude. Gratitude is more than a practice. It's a way of being. It's about recognizing the abundance that already exists in your life, even in the midst of challenges. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you shift your energy. You move from a state of lack to a state of abundance, from fear to love, from doubt to trust. Gratitude is a powerful way to align with God's guidance because it opens your heart and mind to the blessings that are all around you. Letting God guide you also means embracing your unique path. No two journeys are the same, and that's the beauty of it. Comparison is one of the devil's favorite tools to pull you away from your divine purpose. When you're constantly looking at what others are doing, you lose sight of your own path. But when you focus on your journey, on your connection with God, you discover a sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on external validation. You realize that your worth is not determined by how you measure up to others, but by how fully you live in alignment with your true self. When you truly embrace the idea of letting God guide you, you start to understand the depth of trust it requires. This trust is not about blindly following a set of rules or expecting that life will always be easy. It's about surrendering to a wisdom that's far greater than your own. It's about recognizing that your limited perspective can't always see the bigger picture, but God's perspective encompasses everything. This kind of trust doesn't come overnight. It's something you cultivate through experience, through moments when you step out in faith and see how everything falls into place in ways you couldn't have orchestrated yourself. One of the most profound realizations you'll have on this journey is that you are never alone. Even in your darkest moments, even when it feels like the world is against you, God is with you. That presence is constant, unwavering, and unconditional. You might not always feel it, especially when you're caught up in the noise of daily life, but it's there. And when you take the time to quiet your mind and open your heart, you can feel that presence more clearly. It's a warmth, a sense of peace, a knowing that no matter what, you are supported. Letting God guide you also means being willing to step into your own power. This might seem counterintuitive at first because surrender is often associated with weakness. But true surrender is an act of strength. It's saying, I trust in a power greater than myself, and I'm willing to align my will with that power. When you do this, you don't lose your autonomy, you gain it. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become a co-creator of your life. You realize that God's guidance is not about taking over your life, but about partnering with you to create something extraordinary. As you deepen your connection with the divine, you'll begin to notice the subtle ways in which guidance appears in your life. It might come through a chance encounter, a song that plays at just the right moment, or a sudden insight that shifts your perspective. These moments are not coincidences. They are signs that you're on the right path. The more you pay attention to them, the more you'll see them. It's as if the universe is speaking directly to you, reassuring you that you're not alone, that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Of course, there will be times when God's guidance feels unclear or even absent. These moments can be frustrating, especially when you're seeking answers or direction. But they are also opportunities for growth. When the path ahead isn't clear, it forces you to slow down, to reflect, to deepen your faith. It's a reminder that guidance doesn't always come on your timeline. Sometimes it requires patience. Sometimes it requires you to trust that even in the silence, God is working behind the scenes to align everything for your highest good. One of the most liberating aspects of letting God guide you is the freedom it brings. You no longer feel the need to control every detail of your life because you understand that there's a higher power at work. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions are inspired rather than forced. You move from a place of flow rather than struggle. You stop trying to make things happen and start allowing them to unfold. This shift doesn't just reduce stress, it opens the door to possibilities you never imagined. Letting God guide you also transforms the way you view failure. In the past, you might have seen failure as a sign that you're not good enough or that you're on the wrong path. But when you trust in God's plan, you begin to see failure as a stepping stone, a necessary part of the journey. Every setback becomes an opportunity to learn, to grow, to strengthen your faith. You start to realize that what looks like failure from your limited perspective might actually be a redirection, a way of steering you towards something even better. As you deepen your practice of allowing God to guide you, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to see yourself as a vessel for divine love and wisdom. This realization shifts the way you approach your daily life. Your actions are no longer solely about achieving personal gain or recognition. They become acts of service. Each decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to bring more light into the world. Whether it's through a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply being present for someone who needs you, your life becomes a reflection of the divine. One of the most powerful lessons in letting God guide you is learning to trust the unfolding of your life, even when it doesn't make sense. There will be times when you face setbacks, heartbreaks, or unexpected challenges. In those moments, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you've been abandoned or that things are going wrong. But when you're guided by God, you come to understand that these experiences are not punishments. They are part of a greater plan. They are the catalysts for growth, the moments that shape you into the person you're meant to be. It's during these times of difficulty that your faith is tested and strengthened. You learn to rely not on your own understanding, but on a deeper trust in the divine. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It means acknowledging your pain, your fear, your uncertainty, and then choosing to hand it over to God. This act of surrender is not about giving up. It's about releasing the burden of trying to control what is beyond your control. It's about saying, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that they will come in time. Letting God guide you also means embracing the mystery of life. Human beings have an inherent need to understand, to label, to categorize. But the divine is beyond understanding. It's infinite, boundless, and beyond the limitations of the human mind. When you let go of the need to figure everything out, you open yourself to the wonder and beauty of the unknown. You start to see life not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a gift to be experienced. This shift in perspective allows you to move through life with a sense of awe and gratitude. Another profound shift that occurs when you let God guide you is the way you handle your desires. In the past, you may have approached your goals with a sense of urgency or even desperation, feeling like you had to make things happen on your own. But when you align with the divine, you realize that your desires are not separate from God's plan. They are often the whispers of your soul, guiding you toward your highest potential. This doesn't mean that every desire will be fulfilled exactly as you imagine, but it does mean that the essence of what you seek will come to you in divine timing. This process requires patience, which can be one of the most challenging aspects of the journey. In a world that values speed and instant results, waiting can feel like a waste of time. But waiting is not passive, it's an active process of trust and surrender. It's about holding space for what you desire while staying open to the possibility that something even better might be on its way. Patience is a practice of faith, a way of saying, I trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, even if I can't see it yet. As you let God guide you, you'll also notice a shift in your inner dialogue. The critical voice that once dominated your thoughts begins to quiet. In its place, a gentler, more loving voice emerges. This is the voice of the divine within you, reminding you of your inherent worth and beauty. It's a voice that speaks not in judgment, but in encouragement, not in fear, but in love. Listening to this voice takes practice, especially if you've spent years tuning it out. But the more you listen, the louder it becomes, guiding you toward a life that feels authentic and aligned. One of the greatest gifts of letting God guide you is the sense of freedom it brings. This freedom is not about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's about being liberated from the chains of fear, doubt, and insecurity. It's about knowing that you don't have to have all the answers, that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. This freedom allows you to live with an open heart, to take risks, to dream big, and to trust that no matter what happens, you are held by something greater than yourself. As you continue on this path, you'll also notice that your definition of success begins to change. Success is no longer about how much you accomplish or how many accolades you receive. It becomes about how aligned you feel with your purpose, how much joy and peace you experience in your daily life, and how deeply you connect with others. This shift doesn't mean you stop striving for your goals. It means you pursue them from a place of love rather than fear, from a desire to contribute rather than to prove your worth. Letting God guide you also invites you to live in a state of gratitude. Gratitude is not just a reaction to good things happening in your life. It's a way of being. It's about recognizing the blessings that are already present, even in the midst of challenges. When you cultivate gratitude, you shift your focus from what's missing to what's abundant. This shift in perspective opens your heart and aligns you with the energy of love, making it easier to receive even more blessings. Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to deepen your connection with the divine. Another important aspect of this journey is learning to forgive not just others, but also yourself. Forgiveness is a way of releasing the past so you can fully embrace the present. When you hold on to resentment or guilt, you create barriers that block the flow of divine guidance. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning hurtful actions or forgetting what happened. It means choosing to let go of the pain so it no longer controls you. It's an act of liberation, a way of saying, I will not let this hold me back any longer. When you let God guide you, you also begin to see yourself and others through the eyes of love. This doesn't mean you ignore flaws or pretend that challenges don't exist. It means you choose to focus on the divine spark within every person, including yourself. This shift in perspective changes the way you interact with the world. You become more patient, more compassionate, and more willing to extend grace. You realize that everyone is on their own journey, and you stop judging them for where they are. Instead, you offer support, encouragement, and understanding. When you reach the point of fully allowing God to guide your life, you begin to understand that the destination was never the goal. It was always about the journey, the way you allowed yourself to trust, to love, and to grow along the path. This realization brings a deep sense of peace, a knowing that everything you've experienced has served a purpose, even the moments of pain and confusion. You see clearly that life's greatest lessons often came disguised as challenges, and you feel gratitude for every step that brought you to this point. This is not to say that the journey ends, for it doesn't. Letting God guide you is a continuous process, a daily commitment to align with love and truth. But there is a shift that occurs when you've walked this path long enough. You stop questioning the process. You stop doubting whether you're doing it right or whether you're worthy of divine guidance. Instead, you settle into a deep, abiding trust. You come to know with every fiber of your being that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and that everything is unfolding in divine order. In this place of surrender, you experience a freedom that is almost indescribable. You no longer feel bound by the expectations of the world or the limitations of your own mind. You understand that your worth has never been tied to your achievements, your possessions, or the opinions of others. Your worth is inherent, unshakable, and eternal. This realization allows you to move through life with a sense of lightness and joy. You are no longer carrying the weight of trying to prove yourself or control outcomes. Instead, you are free to simply be. One of the most beautiful gifts of letting God guide you is the clarity it brings. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become easier because you're no longer relying solely on your own understanding. You're tuned into a higher wisdom, a guidance that knows what's best for you, even when you don't. This clarity doesn't mean that life becomes predictable or that you'll always know what's coming next. It means that you can move forward with confidence, even in uncertainty, because you trust the one who is leading you. This trust transforms your relationship with fear. Fear no longer has the same hold over you because you know that you are never alone. You've seen how God has carried you through difficult times before, and you trust that you will be carried again. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It's a natural part of being human. But when fear arises, you don't let it paralyze you. Instead, you use it as a reminder to turn back to God, to anchor yourself in faith, and to move forward with courage. As you continue to walk this path, you'll notice that your relationships begin to change. You attract people who align with your values, who support your growth, and who reflect the love you've cultivated within yourself. Some relationships may fall away, and while this can be painful, you'll come to understand that it's part of the process. Not everyone is meant to walk the entire journey with you. Letting go of these connections doesn't mean you stop loving them. It means you honor the role they played in your life and release them with gratitude. You'll also notice that your relationship with yourself deepens in profound ways. You stop being your harshest critic and become your greatest advocate. You treat yourself with the same compassion and kindness that you offer to others. This shift is not about ignoring your flaws or pretending to be perfect. It's about accepting yourself fully as you are. You understand that you are a work in progress, and you celebrate the journey of becoming. This self-acceptance is one of the greatest gifts of letting God guide you, for it allows you to see yourself through the eyes of love. When you let God guide you, your purpose becomes clear. This doesn't mean you'll suddenly know exactly what you're meant to do for the rest of your life. Purpose is not a fixed destination. It's a dynamic, evolving expression of who you are. What matters is not the specifics of what you do, but the energy with which you do it. When you align with God, your actions become an extension of love. Whether you're raising a family, building a business, or simply being present for a friend, your purpose is fulfilled in the way you show up with authenticity, with generosity, and with an open heart. As you reflect on this journey, you'll realize that one of the most important lessons has been the power of choice. Every moment you have the choice to align with God or to let fear, doubt, or ego take the lead. This choice is not always easy, and you won't always get it right. But each time you choose to trust, to surrender, to let love guide you, you strengthen your connection with the divine. Over time, these choices become second nature. You no longer have to force yourself to trust, it becomes who you are. This journey also teaches you the importance of presence. When you let God guide you, you stop living in the past or worrying about the future. You realize that the only moment you have is now, and you embrace it fully. This presence allows you to experience life more deeply, to savor the beauty of each moment, and to connect with others in a meaningful way. It's in the present moment that you feel the fullness of God's love and guidance. It's in the present moment that you find your true self. As this journey comes full circle, you'll see that letting God guide you has never been about changing who you are. It's about remembering who you've always been. Beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and conditioning lies a soul that is infinite, whole, and deeply connected to the divine. This realization is both humbling and empowering. You see that you are a part of something much greater than yourself, and yet you are also a unique expression of that greatness. This is the paradox of the divine. You are both the drop and the ocean. In the end, letting God guide you is not about achieving a specific outcome or reaching a final destination. It's about living in alignment with love, with truth, and with the divine within you. It's about embracing the journey, trusting the process, and allowing yourself to be transformed along the way. It's about stepping into the fullness of who you are and living a life that is rich with meaning, purpose, and joy. And as you do, you become a beacon of light for others, showing them what's possible when you let go of fear and let God guide you.